Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's episode of The Stand. You're here with myself, George, and my co-host, Shane. We're going to talk to you about the week's events, odds and ends, and things that we find interesting. We're glad you're here to share it with us.
Right, exactly. So tonight we're going to be talking about the whole Uranium One deal between Clinton and the Russians, even though they want to say that there was collusion between Russia and Trump. So,
well, talking about the Russian Uranium One deal, it's a quagmire of, in my opinion, of lies and deceit and smoke screens. This whole Russian collusion thing, it's don't look at over here, look at over here. We're going to blame the Republicans for exactly what we're doing. That's a typical Democratic playbook strategy. If you want to know what somebody's hiding, just watch what they're accused. No one's more suspicious than the guilty, as I've always said.
Right.
And they prove it at every turn. This thing with Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, speaking fees, it's hard to wrap your head around, but basically it's a gigantic play for play.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been discussing this, the last year now?
Forever.
Right, it seems like.
Just it never ends. I do want to point out, we got to research it, and I sent you that little blurb.
Right.
But WikiLeaks says that they're going to expose Hillary Clinton, all her emails, to prove that she's guilty. I don't know if it was really it's legit or if it's somebody pretending to be WikiLeaks, but it's been floating around the internet and Twitter. So I think today was the day they said that if Trump didn't do something about it, they would.
Well, I mean,
so let's see.
We'll see.
I personally don't think it would happen today, because nobody in their right mind would release something that big on a Saturday. They would do it on Monday.
Paying attention, right? Nobody's paying attention.
It's the Friday at 5 o'clock thing where they release the most important thing they don't want you to see at Friday at 5 o'clock, because they know nobody's paying attention to the news except for news geeks like us.
Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, we'll just be breaking that down a little bit further. We also have 84 children were rescued in a pedophile ring. One child was old as 3 months old, so that just give you a picture of what kind of people they're dealing with.
Where was this ring?
This was I'll get into that.
I was gonna say, is it local or international? I mean,
it's within the U.S. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the U.S. So it just points out what kind of people they are. I discussed pedophile rings getting exposed and stopped throughout last year. Another one, there was a couple, thousands of kids were rescued over the last year, all thanks to President Trump. Even though he hasn't said anything, you can tell that the administration is doing what he's actually telling them to do, because during Obama, during 8 years, even during Bush, we haven't seen this amount of pedophiles being shut down nationwide. So it's always a great thing for that to happen. They want to feed on the innocent souls of the children. So it's just really disgusting.
I'm afraid that things like this have been going on since the dawn of time, and they will continue. As long as there's humans, there will be human deviants out there that will just, this is what they'll do, and when we find them, we have to destroy them. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Put them in jail, wreck their lives. And
because they want to wreck the lives of
yeah, just they're criminals, they're sadistic bastards, and just need to be dealt with. Mm-hmm. It's like disease. We're never going to. It's not that it is a disease, and if it is, I know the cure. But it's something that I think we're just, as a civilization, we're going to have to deal with forever, and so we have to be ever vigilant.
No, absolutely, George. And then also we're going to be talking about the release of the Kennedy investigation come this 26th. So that Trump, said that he was going to release these files. So I mean, I know George has been waiting his entire lifetime.
It's funny
for
because
as long as that is,
it's funny because I remember my whole life hearing that these will be released after 50 years, and when I was in my 20s, like, oh, that's forever. God, and it's one of those things you kind of look forward to as a thing that was going to happen in the future, and it's now.
Right.
So I'm weirdly intrigued by the whole concept. I had completely forgotten about it till they announced it. But yeah, I'd like to see what the Warren Commission really said. I know they waited 50 years because they wanted to wait till everybody that was involved would be most likely dead. which I've always thought was suspicious. And I'm not a conspiracy nut, but something has never been right about it. I've never believed, and again, I'm not a conspiracy nut, but I don't think there was guys in the grassy knoll. I don't think it was the mob. I don't know. I just know that
You just want to question the narrative.
I just don't believe that a single man with a bolt-action rifle was able to make those shots. If it was once in a friggin' lifetime. All the stars in the right place. I don't know about the magic bullet. I don't research it, but I'm just saying I have fired enough weapons at moving objects to know that is hard. I mean, maybe we could do it today because we know a lot more about bullet trajectories. I mean, they got computers to figure that crap out. We got snipers that can hit people from a mile away it's not even hard.
Right.
But a guy with a bolt-action rifle and
no scope? Did he have a scope?
No scope. I don't recall there being a scope. Iron sights at a moving vehicle from a window of a library.
This guy had that like 40-40 vision, man. Just super hot guy, you know.
I just think it's a little hard it's a little hard to believe.
It's fishy.
Yeah, there's something wrong. And then again, I've never actually seen human bodies struck by bullets like that, but it does look like he's shot from two different directions in the film.
I'm just saying, I seen the film a couple of times. There's a couple of things.
So I'm really curious to see when it comes out. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be another gigantic 50-year-old bag of horse manure that means nothing, because that's just the way those things work.
Right. I'm trying to get this thing to work. All right. So we'll just get into our first topic, which is the Uranium One deal between Bill Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, and Russia, the whole Russian government. Now, this thing just came out, not even 24 hours ago?
Well, this whole story has been building for years. I mean, we've all known that Hillary Clinton was in office as the head of the State Department when the deal happened. They all said, oh, no, she wasn't part of the governing body. She wasn't involved in the decision-making process. But this new information tells us, yes, she was on the governing body. Yes, she was the one helping making the decision. And tons of money has been received to the Clinton Foundation through Bill Clinton's speaking fees connected with Russian organizations. So, I mean, think about it. If you switch the name Clinton to Trump, could you imagine the hysteria the media would be having?
It'd be a nuclear meltdown,
The fact that it's so one-sided that every day the left-wing media demonstrates that they are not the media, but they're the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party.
Right.
So I can't believe anything they say anymore. And if you just, there's organizations that all they do is monitor how much time one network spends on a story as opposed to another. And as we all know, CNN, MSNBC, and all those left-wing organizations, they spend their entire day bashing President Trump. I was in a situation where for 8 hours I saw this TV just in the background, and every time I glanced over it, in the entire 8 hours, I never once didn't see the name Trump on the screen, and it was CNN.
Right.
They spent an entire 8-hour period talking about Trump this, Trump that, and none of it was good. So I'm waiting to see how this Iranian One thing unrolls. Excuse me, with because the Russian bribery scandal, extortion, it's blown wide open, but nobody's talking about it really like they should.
Well, I mean, what I just put that graphic up there. What they're doing is just basically covering the surface. All right, well, so this is what Clinton's done. Yeah, they've done some negotiations, but really never really dived into it. That's why you have to look into the article, like from The Hill, which really goes into depth on what actually happened. Times, places. I strongly recommend that you guys look this up. As it starts off, as he prepared to collect $500,000 payday in Moscow in 2010. Now, folks, this is very recent. This is Obama's term, by the way. Bill Clinton sought clearance from State Department. Who's the State Department?
State Department was run by, I believe it was a Hillary Clinton.
Oh, okay. Clearance from State Department to meet with a key board director of the Russian nuclear energy firm. Sorry, my Russian isn't that good. Rosatom, which is a time needed the Obama administration approval for a controversial uranium deal. Government records show now. So,
Well,
that first opening paragraph just tells it all. I mean,
basically, Bill Clinton went to his wife and said,
"We need money.
I'm going to make you some money. I'm going to need some. I'm going to need official approval to go speak with these Russians about this deal, and I'm really going to speak, do a speech. They're going to give us some money. Can we make this deal happen?" And I'm guaranteed she's just like, "Oh yeah, just a minute. Oh, there you go. It's all good. It's not against the law now."
Man, that's a big ass Hillary Clinton pin.
Well, she's got a pen the size of a horse's leg. You know, her stuff's important. Needs a big pen. Anyway, it smacks of absolute. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Collusion.
Oh, that's what the word is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You haven't heard that word lately in the news, so.
Well, not for a while now.
Actually, that whole Russian collusion thing with Trump has gone away a little bit because this is popping up. And again, the Democrats don't really want to talk about this much because,
right.
It just proves Trump, he's been right on every issue on this. Every time he said something in regard to this or he was tapped, he's always been right. I mean, there's even been times I'm like, oh, I wish he hadn't said that. That sounds so outrageous. Oh, what do you know? He was right again. So I think this is the real collusion. I think this is the real problem.
Well, of course it's a real collusion. I mean, so my question to you is, what's going to happen with the current investigation that Mueller's running?
That is such a gigantic smokescreen. It's basically a bunch of Democrats hiring Democrats,
right,
talking to Democrats about trying to figure out a way to put Trump in jail. Okay, that's just in no way impartial. I mean, investigations generally aren't impartial anyway. The FBI never goes in and says, "Hey, let's look." They look at all the evidence, but they're not impartial. They go where the evidence shows. These guys are so biased, and I mean, they're all Clinton donors. Everybody that he's put on his special investigation teams are Clinton donors.
Right.
Okay, if I was in trouble and I could handpick my friends to investigate my crimes and see if I'm in trouble, I'd be pretty confident.
That is true. You know,
if I pick my best friends, go, "Hey, I need you to go out there and make sure I don't get in any trouble," I think they're going to be on my side.
Hopefully.
Well, maybe not me, because I try to pick friends who have character and principles, and maybe I wouldn't be okay. Maybe I would be in trouble.
Right.
But as we all know, I've always said, if it wasn't for double standards, liberals wouldn't have any standards at all. So they're filled with hypocrisy. This is just this thing. If it's left up to CNN and NBC, it's going to go nowhere.
Right.
It's all on Fox to make this work.
Well, and then Fox is really not that right anyways.
I have noticed that. I have really noticed in the last 6 months that Fox has kind of taken a bit of a turn towards moderate, and I don't like it. I mean, I guess the best way to be fair is to be moderate. But I heard something the other day, and it was somebody, and I can't remember because I just noticed it in passing. It was some congressman, a Democrat, of course, talking about reaching across the aisle, which they always talk about reaching across the aisle when they're not in charge.
Well, no.
When they're in charge, it's like, we won, you're going to do what we like.
Right, or what benefits them at the time.
Right. But there was a congressman, and again, I don't remember his name because I just saw it in passing, and he was like, "We want to work with the Democrats." And my gut visceral reaction, I actually said it out loud in my living room and said, "No, no, I don't want to work with the Democrats. I want you to fight them at every turn. I want you to fight them on every issue. I didn't vote for Republicans to go to Washington and compromise with the people who will not compromise and whose very objective is plainly stated is to change America fundamentally." That's what Obama said. We're going to fundamentally transform America. And they still are doing it. See, when Obama went into office, they basically showed us their cards. They said, "Here's what we're going to do."
Yeah, they absolutely did.
They were so confident. They said, "We are going to do this. We're going to change that. You're going to jail. We're changing that." Blah, everything they ever said. And what they did.
And I remember, when we were doing the show, it was really like this could be it. We could be shut down if Hillary got in.
But here's the tragic mistake they made, and this is just my opinion, is that they were so confident they told us their plan.
Right. Well, they
broadcast everything that they wanted to do. They wanted. I mean, look, we're still arguing over bathrooms and gender pronouns.
Which, by the way, people in California could get arrested and put to jail if you
healthcare workers, if you knowingly, yeah. Anyway, So the Democrats, they basically showed us their hand. They said, this is our plan. What they failed to realize that most of America said, that's a terrible plan.
Yeah, right.
And the Democrats basically, as far as I'm concerned, they elected Donald Trump. Not me, not you, they did. By telling us what they wanted to do, and it appalled most of America.
Right. And
They,
it really
they have
did.
only themselves to
Well,
blame.
the thing is, George, there's still a lot of conservatives on both sides of the aisle, and they just don't want that whole progressive liberalism. You know, we're not ready for that in a lot of the majority of the population's eyes. You know?
Most humans are not ready for progressive liberalism because if you have a brain in your head, all you got to do is look at how socialism, which is also fascism, that's still socialism, it's just a different twist on it.
Which turns into communism.
It's all communism. The fascists and the communists didn't fight each other because they're opposite ideologies. They were only fighting for control.
Right.
Not for ideology, but for control. Actual who's going to be in power. Because if you're a fascist and this guy over here is a communist, they both want to run the place.
Yeah.
But they both want to do two of the same things. The fascists just want to run the country and give the industries to their friends. Mm-hmm. And the communists just want to give the industries take over by the state. What they have in common is taking away your weapons, controlling the people, suppressing the people, and turning them into labor.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, you can't find a single communist country on this planet that ever existed that didn't turn its population into and just chew them up like meat.
I mean, look at China and North Korea. You know,
49 million people under the Chinese Revolution lost their lives.
That's
The great
a lot
leap,
of people.
the great leap forward.
Right.
Yeah, no, so anyway, the fascists and the socialists, they're the same point on the circle. They just kind of meet and they're slightly different, but they're both totalitarian socialist tyrannical organizations.
Well said.
You know, capitalism might have its problems, but this is the only country where you're free to become a billionaire, i.e. Donald Trump, or starve to death.
Right. Or you're free to, like you say all the time, you're free to become a bum, you know?
Yeah. We're the only country where being a bum doesn't get you sent off to a gulag.
Right. You can go on the street and, you know,
I see them all the time.
try to make your living that way. But anyways, just like this caption, the picture says, total donations from uranium-run shareholders to the Clinton Foundation exceeded $145 million in the run-up to Hillary's State Department, proving the see my Russian is so good.
What's the,
R.O. Rostom? Rostom?
I knew how to pronounce it until you started messing it up. Well, Rosatom. I could do it earlier. I practiced, but it's that Russian uranium company.
Which gave Russia control over about 20% of the U.S. uranium.
Yeah. Why in the world would we give 20% of our uranium to a country not too long ago, and in my lifetime, was using uranium to build bombs to vaporize this entire country?
Right here, George. $145 million. That's why.
To that turkey neck, backstabbing crow.
Un-American piece of garbage. Right.
And her complaining and her whining just makes it even harder to be sympathetic to her.
Well, just like how we covered her book.
What happened? That's the title. That's the audio version of that title. Not what happened. What happened? It was mine.
Statement, a question.
It was an explanation question. It should be what happened? Question exclamation point. I'll tell you what happened.
Wouldn't that be the perfect title?
I'll tell you what happened. You got up there on stage and you called us all deplorable. And names, and we didn't know what we were doing, and you basically offended half of the country that was listening.
Right.
But I really hope this turns into something. I'm not hopeful because, quite frankly, the Clinton Foundation has enough money to give to people to make them not care.
Hush, hush, yeah.
Besides, the left-wing media is so on their side. They don't even see this. When they look at this, they just see like a picture of flowers. Their brain can't process the images.
Unicorns, butterflies.
Yeah, it's like when my dog stares at the TV. He just sees colors.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if this doesn't throw her in jail or at least something, I don't know. Then
Hillary Clinton is as likely to go to jail as I am likely to marry a supermodel. Okay, it's just not going to happen.
Well, you're not going to give yourself a chance?
I have a pretty good self-awareness. You know, I know what I live here in reality.
Oh,
She's not going to jail. Sorry, in my opinion, she'll never go to jail. She won't even get her hand slapped. Matter of fact, the best we can hope for is she just goes away, which I would settle for at this point.
yeah. I mean,
Because she lost the election. She lost what she felt she deserved. Her whole life is a prison right now.
Yeah, that is true. Every time she turns on TV, guess who's on it? Trump.
And,
So-
and I wanted to make a joke about the fact that she broke a toe running somewhere. She didn't break a toe running. She broke a toe kicking some intern.
or a piece of furniture or whatever.
Oh yeah, just in a fit of rage, she kicked somebody. Again, probably some poor intern or some poor secretary. She kicked him really hard and broke a toe because that's an angry person.
Oh yeah.
I've seen angry before, and that's it.
Ugh.
So
So
that's just all my opinion.
Right. Well, exactly. You know, I mean, I hope, this is where the American people need to start standing up for themselves. If nothing comes out of this, if nothing happens, then it's our responsibility to make sure that justice is sought. You know, if either one of us even talked to a Russian or was in Russia or wanted to do a business deal, we'll be shut down by the IRS. The feds would be up in our door. We'll be in prison. You know, and it would be a living hell for us. You know, so why should this individual here be able to give him the chance to commit crime and get away with it? You know, I mean, people have been sent to jail for a lot less, and serving a lot longer terms than she'll probably ever imagine of,
Well, you got to remember she's part, and this is where I've really changed my look at government. She's part of the establishment. It doesn't matter whether there's a D or an R behind your name. It's the E now. Do you have an E next to your name? Establishment. Right. John McCain, establishment. He changes his opinion depending on whoever he hates at the moment,
or who he gets funded by.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's no more a Republican than the tripod holding that camera. He's part of the problem. Now, I'm sure he hates Donald Trump. I can imagine why. Donald Trump kind of blasted him. And I thought it was a little uncalled for. I mean, John McCain spent 5 years in a Viet Cong prison camp. He's stronger than I am. I don't think I can last 5 minutes. But he managed, so he gets a little respect, a little credit. Doesn't change the fact that he's making bad decisions, and he ran on repealing and replacing Obamacare, and every opportunity that it's come up for him to side and keep the promise he made while campaigning to his citizens in Arizona, he said no.
Right.
So it proves to me that when he was saying, "I'm going to repeal and replace Obamacare," it was a lie. It was a campaign promise, which is another word for lie. And so that makes everything else he said to me a lie. Because if he's going to lie about something that we all wanted him to do, everybody's been affected by Obamacare. And they're still dealing with it. In the insurance industry...
Premiums just went up 33% on top of, what was it, $21,000 now as a premiums? They're up to like, what was it? Wow, man, they're like...
they're outrageous.
Almost $30,000 in premiums now.
I remember...
to go see a doctor is like $3,000 now.
I remember when my rates went up. It was crushing. This is what happens when the Democrats fix something.
Right.
This is a living proof of the Democrats and or big government fixing something. They can't fix anything. They only know how to do two things: wage war and collect taxes.
Yeah.
They are very good at those two things. And none of those benefit us.
Absolutely, man. So moving on. But before we move on, check out the site, stanshow.com every day. Well, not every day, but every week we also...
No, go every day. Go every day.
Or every day. Go every day. Support the site. But anyways, we do upload our YouTube videos onto the site, so you can check those out, or you can go directly to our YouTube page. You can also check out this broadcast, share it, and everything else like that. Tell your friends about it. Also, we have shirts available for purchase. I'm wearing one right now. I wear one every week we do the shows, just to show you what kind of shirts we actually have. So, check out the show, share support, buy one of the shirts, and ultimate goal is to try to get back on radio. I mean, I had a blast doing radio.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
So-
We're working towards that every day. We did enjoy it. Something about that deadline. We're going to be on the air at 7 or whatever it was. It kind of keeps your motivation going and it gives you something to strive for. Some of you may have noticed we moved to Saturdays at 4:30. This is a possible permanent / temporary time slot for us. We have all our work schedules do fluctuate at times. Things change. People move from job to job, whatever it might be. So we try to accommodate. That's why we do this live on Facebook, so you can find us anytime.
Right. And it's all archived, so that's the best part.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing, 4 days later somebody liking the show because they watched it then, which is what I kind of like, because it's, it's not like a DVR, but it's as close as we're going to get.
Yeah, for right now at least, until we get more funding and everything else like that. So, I personally don't like to talk about the whole financial part of it. I would just like to talk about this stuff, and hopefully, money shows up, and we and we can just move on from there. But just like everything else,
that might be the funniest thing I've heard you say in a long time.
Well, thanks. But unfortunately, this whole
that's
thing,
not the way the world works.
I know. Some snowflake stuff for you. But anyways.
Okay, second funniest thing.
We do need the financial support to make this thing better, to basically get out of this studio, to get into another studio, more professional, and
if you like us, help support the show. If you don't like us, send us some money to stop, and we'll do that too.
That also works too.
Yeah.
We'll stop for money. So
we'll just come on as another name, another show, and extort you for more money to quit then too.
Yeah, no, it is not.
No, this is absolutely a pleasure to do. We enjoy it, and we hope that we're connecting with you guys on some level out there, and that you enjoy the show, and that you make us a part of your week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really the goal, is to unite people, to get the conservative movement really going. And that we're not alone, even though we like to be alone. And
it's funny. I've always said that the biggest weakness of a conservative is also his greatest strength. We are rugged individualists, which means we don't group up. We don't have mind think. We don't go. He thinks just like me. No matter what he does, he's right. We don't think like that. We don't think like the left. I mean, the left. Look. Except for the Harvey Weinstein thing, and they've been covering for that bastard for years. I mean, only when it became viable, he became no longer viable for them, did they turn against him.
Right.
But they've all known this for years. I mean, I got a little bit here about Corey Feldman.
Right.
I remember for years him talking about child molesters in Hollywood, and.
Nothing. He was.
No, they nothing. They
took his interview.
Barbara Walters actually said, you're tarnishing an industry. Well, that shows right there where her loyalties lie.
Exactly.
Not with what's right.
Not with the kids, the innocent kids who are getting
or even
twisted.
What's right.
Right.
But with who pays her paycheck, the people that she deals with. So, as Republicans, we're individuals. We're pretty much self-sufficient. We don't want big government in our lives. We don't even want little government in our lives, but we know we have to have some.
We have to have some governing body.
But that's our biggest weakness also. Our weakness is that we don't look to others to help us. We do need others as long as the others are us. Well,
that's the only ones who are really going to stick up for us in the long end,
Yeah, so I mean, that is the weakness we have. Our weakness is that we don't look to each other for support, even though we all tend to support each other. We're a little quiet, a little more subdued about it. The weakness on the left, in my opinion, is the fact that they feel that they've won and they've told us everything we need to know, and their claims and their demands just get more and more outrageous. Every time somebody gets on the tube and starts talking about how we need to have cross-gendered bathrooms and you have to say is or whatever the pronoun of the day.
For the week.
Every time they come out and say something like that, they push another normal, otherwise uninvolved individual to our side. Because at the end of the day, good people they know when it's time to say I gotta take a stand. That's what it's showing. They take a stand in their own personal life and say that's enough. The NFL thing's a perfect example.
Right.
when the players started doing something that offended the majority of the population that watches their sport, they got turned off, ratings went down, and you saw a little juxtapose, a little juggling on the part of the owners to try to do damage control, but they're afraid of their players walking out. They don't want to lose their advertisers. They don't want to lose their fan base. Yeah,
well,
so
I mean,
that's
talking about it, the commercial just came out not too long ago and said we support, we want the players to stand, but they're not, doing anything about it. It's sort of like, we want you to do it, but that's as far as we're going to talk
lip
about
service.
it. Yeah, exactly. So
if I was an owner of a football team, I would just basically say, if you kneel for the national anthem, you're down, or you just sign your release papers because you're gone.
Right.
Because, I mean, let's face it, what other country on this planet in history gives people millions of dollars to do something that doesn't require education? It is a talent, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't require any higher education. They give them millions of dollars, and who, by the way, the NFL is mostly minority groups, and I think it's 73% is African American, which they are claiming to be oppressed, but they're so oppressed that they are able to make millions of dollars in a sport.
Well, they're the 1%. Like I said 2 weeks, they're part of the 1% that the average people don't even see. We'll never see in a lifetime.
Well, I think it's a little bit hypocritical to say I'm being oppressed. Thank you for the millions from all the white people. Okay, and let's face it. They're making their living off of their talent, and they're paid for it.
That's actual statistic.
They generate tons of money for the owners,
Uh-huh.
yeah, but they feel oppressed. Okay, they feel others are oppressed. No one in this country is oppressed. A little depressed, depending on who's the president, but no one's oppressed.
Right.
No, if you can find somebody out there who can say this person is actively seeking to keep me from living a better life, point him out. We'll all get together and go beat that person up for you, because that's not right. We'll do something about it. But no one can do that. No one can say, the power company's oppressing me because they're charging me a high rate. No, they're charging you a rate that the market allows. That person's oppressing me because I have to live in this neighborhood. No, you didn't go to school. You didn't learn enough to have a better job to live in a different neighborhood. That's all it takes.
Right.
That's all it takes.
Oh, exactly. And a lot of personal friends, who grew up in bad neighborhoods and stuff like that. It's all in the mentality. Do you want to stay there? Do you want to become part of the culture and everything? Well, if you don't, you move on from there. You improve yourself.
That's not oppressive. That's not being oppressed. That's being lazy. And the football players that kneel, I don't care. They're being disrespectful. I would no sooner kneel at the national anthem. I don't know. I'd have to do it at gunpoint, and even then.
Yeah.
I don't kneel. I stand. If I'm in the house, walking around and I hear it on the TV, I stop. I turn towards it, wherever it's coming from.
Right.
That's just what you do. That's called honoring the people that got us all here.
Yeah.
The people that made it.
The
so that we
generations
could, the people that made it. People who suffered, fought, died, created, built, lived their lives, and have passed on. Who gave us the life we have now. We live in the best country on the planet. I've been to some other countries, and some of them are pretty nice, but you know what? Nothing's better than here.
It doesn't fare to what we have.
No, not at all.
And
so that's my little patriotic rant. I went down a path again. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But anyway, started out with pedophiles, went out with the national anthem and football players.
Well, recently 84 children were rescued in the latest pedophile ring. 120 traffickers arrested across the United States. So this sort of expanded from San Francisco all the way up to Oregon to Denver and I believe some parts in New Mexico and Arizona. Reading. Right.
I totally don't understand the whole thing. I don't get it. I don't even know how. Okay, let's say there's one guy's a pedophile.
Right.
How do you strike that conversation up with somebody else?
It's all codes, man.
I guess it's all
subculture.
Codes,
Exactly. It's a subculture thing. I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. I mean, the tapes alone. They
need to be all rooted out
right.
and destroyed. I'm sorry. There's no cure for it.
No, there isn't.
The recidivism rate is like, it's better. It's more than jihadists released from Gitmo.
I mean, 3 months old. They were pimping. They were doing who knows what to this 3-month-old baby.
Yeah, let's not try to dwell on the actions, but the fact that there are some seriously sick individuals out there, and
But have you heard the story on the mainstream media?
No, you won't. You're bringing this up now, and it's news to me, and it's kind of revolting.
Right. But it needs to be out there. It's not one of those things you want to talk about all the time, and you don't want to imagine or fathom what has been done to these children. But it has to be shown to light that we are cracking down. Well, agencies are cracking down on this, and it's a warning signal to all the other pervs that are out there, and it should be really pushed to the limelight just for that very reason. I mean, it's a warning signal. Cut it out. You're going to go to jail. We will find you. We will destroy you.
Well, they're never going to cut it out. Let's just find you and send you to prison, where the real justice takes place for pedophiles, and that's prison.
Yeah, exactly.
But it brings me up to another point that I noticed. And it doesn't cover any of this particular human trafficking thing, but it's a little bit along the same bent. And I asked myself this question: what has changed in the last few years, and specifically what has changed in the UK? And I found these statistics, and since we're doing a little crime thing here, I figured I'd bring it up. Britain's official statistical institute reports a 13% increase in crime in the year ending in June 2017. 13%. Countrywide.
Violent crimes?
Violent crime, with the total number of offenses surpassing 5 million for the first time in a decade.
You know why?
No.
They have no guns. No guns to defend themselves.
I think that's a little bit, but that's not where I'm going. Violent crime appears to have increased even more sharply, with some of the headline figures including, these numbers should scare the hell out of you. 1.2 million offenses of violence against a person, an increase of 19% on the previous year. 129,000 sexual offenses, an increase of 19% on the previous year. 45,000 rapes, an increase of 22% on the previous year. 36,000 offenses involving a knife or sharp instrument, an increase of 26% on the previous year. Notice the knife thing. That means guns don't change crime. These people still committed crimes just with a knife.
Well, that's why I mentioned it.
Yeah. 6,600 offenses involving firearms, an increase of 27% on the previous year. A country that doesn't even allow firearms, 27% increase. They managed to get guns anyway. What do you know? A criminal still got a gun. So,
but I mean, you think a criminal's going to see a gun-free zone? It's like, I can't go in there.
Well, you know what it is, and I hate to say this, but I'm just going to say the only thing that's really changed in the last 2 years is the immigration policy of the UK.
No, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. We have almost 20% in each category.
A 19% increase in sex crimes.
Right.
Offenses.
Rapes, everything else,
45,000 additional rapes in a year. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to point out the connection that these increases are, in my opinion, direct relation to the fact that they let a large number of Syrian refugees into the country. Right. People who do not share the same values as Western civilization. People who think that if they can see your wife's wrist or her face, she's deserving of their sexual advances because she's lesser.
Sharia law.
Still, it's just they don't follow Sharia law, because if they followed Sharia law, that if they were to
they're
commit an offense like this, they'd be punished. But
they're not punished. They're following the law.
They follow the law because it benefits them.
Of course.
I mean, in Pakistan, it takes 5 male witnesses of a rape to make it official, to get a conviction. And if it doesn't work, the victim is now accused of adultery.
Mm-hmm. And beheaded.
How?
And
just stone. They just stone them.
But
how,
other parts of the Middle East are beheaded.
Backwards is that kind of logic, and we let thousands and millions of them into our countries, and they don't subscribe to our constitution, our system of laws, or our way of life. They do not value things. I mean, we're talking about a group of people who went on a rampage and killed dogs because they think dogs are dirty.
When
the Muslim Brotherhood was in charge in Egypt, they went on a nationwide crusade to kill all pigs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is... In a country where they already have trouble feeding each other, you know,
They're just going to keep
they're just going to kill half the food supply.
yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, and I see that as a direct relation to why these statistics have increased. And and I hate to say it because this is where we get called, you know, bad names. But if we allow this to happen here, will be the same result.
Well, of course.
There'll be a slightly different fluctuation when they run into a woman who's armed.
Or has mace something,
No,
you know.
I think, you know, mace, you know, to me, if you
Taser.
got to whip out mace, you need to whip out a gun.
That's true.
If you're a woman walking down an alley or down a sidewalk and you're accosted by 3 swarthy Middle Eastern men, screw that mace. Screw it. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah.
Because
That's true.
the last line of defense for your personal safety is you.
Right.
You know, when seconds counts, just remember, cops are minutes away.
Or
All those little sayings, they really are hours. What's the best one? Why do I carry a gun? Because a cop's too heavy. But these statistics, they didn't, in the article I read, they did not put it together, but this is what I see. I read this and I see a large Muslim population from a part of the world that doesn't share our values, and this is the result.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, all within, what, a year?
Yeah. And not one of these covered murder. They were all like violent crimes.
Well, it's all going to be violent crimes, rapes.
But my point is, they didn't
assaults.
even touch the murder rate.
Well, imagine the murder rate going up. I mean, that's only a small fraction, you know. The rest of the things probably all murders, you know.
I mean,
disappearances,
22%
missing.
A 22% rise in rape. You're going to tell me that all the native-born Englishmen decided it was time to just go on a raping spree? No, not. It is a group of individuals, mostly men, because it's rape. Generally, the rapist is a man, who don't share our values, who don't share our customs,
Right.
and who don't think our laws apply to them.
Well, because they already have their law,
Yeah. Well,
Sharia.
so that I had to throw that in there because it's just. I think Europe is in deep trouble.
Well, it's on the verge of collapse. I truly believe if they keep going down this route, it'll be on the verge of collapse, and I would never ever visit, maybe until.
Glad I was there when it was still decent.
Well, same here. So, just to summing this up or whatever, it's working. You know, the bad people are being brought to justice, and I think it needs a lot more media attention. So, if anything, ladies and gentlemen, at least tell your people, to tell your family members, your friends, that yes, pedophilia is being cracked down upon. It's coming to an end. Well, not to an end, but
I'm going to make a prediction, and
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but once we get the transgender bathroom pronoun BS figured out, and it wears out, and it's no longer the cause of celeb, that's going to be the next one.
oh yeah,
They're going to normalize it. You watch. I was laughed at when I said that once they started with the whole gay marriage, which I don't have a problem with. Be careful. Careful what you wish for when you want to get married. But my point is that the Democrats and the libs and the Marxists, they just keep pushing that envelope. They just keep trying to slowly erode the foundation of this country. Just 50 years ago, the thought of this kind of stuff, you couldn't even have talked about it on TV. You would have got censored because it was so outrageous and so it was not the kind of things you said in good company. That's how far we've fallen. Now we're actually worried about. Oh, speaking of which, Playboy. Who's heard this?
he's a misogynist.
No,
Oh.
no. Playboy is planning to have as their centerfold the first transgendered centerfold. I have no idea what to say about this other than if they put a man that looks like a woman in Playboy, I really
Are you not going to read it for the articles at least?
I never read it for the articles. Why? When you pick up a Playboy, most men don't know how to read anyway.
At that point,
Yeah.
right?
But my point is, that's how far we've gone. That is not groundbreaking. That is just eroding away the things that make this country great. They want us demoralized. I believe. I really believe they want us demoralized.
Well, I think it goes beyond demoralization. It goes further into, breaking our will. It goes into what, like you said, what can they get away with? What is their ultimate goal in the long end?
Well, they want us to change our morals.
Right.
I mean, think about it. A God-fearing, moral person will say no to things. They'll say no to atrocities. They'll say no to all the stuff we've talked about. But a group of people whose morals have been corrupted over time, where they don't even realize it's happened,
right,
and who believe that, well, it starts with Planned Parenthood. It's okay to abort babies. That's become acceptable now. There's people who actually think that's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Well, when you start there, this is where you end up.
Yeah. Well, I'm totally against abortions.
Well, I mean, as a male, all I can say is, you know what? I can't really. I mean, that's between her and her God and herself. Someday she's gonna have to. Maybe she'll have her come to Jesus moment where she realizes what she did. It's up to them. I cannot tell them what to do with their body, as they cannot tell me what to do with mine.
I agree to that.
So, I mean, I'm a male. It's a subject I really can't broach. I don't know any answers for it. I don't know what to tell them. I'm just like, I mean, having two beautiful daughters, I can't even imagine that, at any point someone might have said, this one's a little inconvenient. No, a child is not inconvenient. A child is a beautiful thing.
It truly is a beautiful thing.
It is
You're
absolutely
passing down your ancestry to the next generation and watching your future grow.
How many possible Nobel Peace Prize presidents, just people that could have bettered our planet, did we eliminate before they got started?
We could have had the next Einstein.
We could have got rid of a couple of Son of Sams too, but that's the trade-off.
Well, yeah.
I'll take a couple of Nobel Peace Prizes for every serial killer. But I mean, it's a roll of the dice, and they're just saying, no, I don't want to take a chance. It's inconvenient. It doesn't fit my lifestyle. Well, you know what? Death doesn't fit the lifestyle of a kid either.
No. Especially when they're, 7 months in...
Oh, yeah, that whole thing. I mean, they've just been, again, they push the envelope.
Yeah.
I mean...
Almost a full-term baby.
Yeah, if they can extinguish the life of a virtual full-term child... Someday they may turn to me and go, you're 75, that hip's not working too good, it's cost you too much to keep you alive, why don't you just go off and die? Here, take these pills. We'll help you.
They're actually talking about
that.
They're actually talking, that's not too far.
And that's the death panel Sarah Palin talked about that everybody laughed about, but what do you know? That's what Obamacare will give you eventually. Anyway, going down another
You want to get into the JFK thing?
I didn't see that early enough to do any research on it. Other than my opinion is, I'm glad it's happening. I hope they pop it out. I want to see what it's got to say. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be impressed with the reports, but who knows? Maybe there's some nugget in there that will tell us something.
Well, it just might. I mean, after the leak documentation, what you can find, there's been multiple caliber bullets riddled through his body. They found what was it? People who are video analysts and stuff like that show possibly the driver turning around with what appears to be a firearm. And
that kind of conspiracy stuff, I'm not buying that. I need to see a little bit more evidence to even go down that path.
Right. But I mean, apparently he was shot. The grassy knoll was ahead, right?
Yeah.
It was ahead of him. But if you look at the video, he goes forward and then comes back. So that can only mean that he was shot from behind and not from the front. So I don't know.
I'm hoping that the Warren Commission and their big report comes out, that they'll tell us something. Maybe they'll just come out with the same thing we're all saying right now. We have no idea how it happened. This is all we could find.
Right, but
that's probably what we're going to hear.
We do know that President Trump did tweet this: subject to the receipt of further information, I will be allowing, as president, he had to throw that in there, the long block and classified JFK files to be open. They will be open on the 26th per executive order. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so, what was it? 5 more days from now, we'll find out.
It'll be historic, whatever it is.
Right.
This will be the last chapter in something that's been going on for over 50 years.
Right, exactly. And you can finally pass away peacefully. No.
Oh, it's not going to be peaceful. I'm fighting every step of the way.
I know, I'm just messing around. But
I might even take others with me. No, just kidding.
So I mean, it is a great thing to see that, you know, if this could be released, what else can be released, you know? So
Well, I mean, Trump is he is really shaking up the establishment. That's why he's getting so much trouble from everybody. That's why people like John McCain and that cowboy wearing circus clown Federico Wilson, that they just help our cause. Every time John McCain gets up there and says something that counters what he promised, every time some congressman gets up there and screams impeach Trump because he wears a pinky ring or whatever she happened to spot or think, you know, whatever ludicrous
a mood ring, remember
that? Whatever ludicrous idea they come up with, every time they open their mouth and say something outrageous, they nudge somebody a little closer to our side, and I have to thank them for it.
Yeah, that's true. Because a lot more people are waking up to the fact that there is something definitely wrong with the Democratic Party. They have what was it? I read an article that they just got rid of a whole bunch more top officials within the DNC, which is the Democratic National Convention. I can't think of it, but the DNC, they're getting rid of a lot of officials and pretty much they're purging the old and trying to get new people in there to try to refresh it, so then they can come back from the detriment that was Hillary Clinton and whole
you know what? I think actually if they wanted to gain, they should go back to where they were in the 80s and just being slightly liberal. They gained more ground in the last 20 years than they've gained. Or they've lost more ground in the last than they gained because they've become so outrageous that the average person who's like, you know, I had a guy I knew that he was, I'm a Democrat, and then he's like, God, Democrats are kind of crazy, and every time I talk to him, he's like, and guess what? He's a Republican.
Switched, huh?
Yeah, you can only tell a guy so many times that he has to call somebody in a dress and a beard, Nancy. Before he just says, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I can't do it anymore.
The Democrats no longer represent the middle class America. They represent the fringe.
Well, exactly. What was it? The 1% of 1%. That's who they represent now.
The LGBT community basically can fit in an auditorium.
Yeah.
But the rest of us, they don't care about.
Right. So, what's their true agenda? I don't know.
Their true agenda is to break this country down to the point where the Democrats, it's the same plan every time. Obamacare is a perfect example. They claim something's broken, they come in with regulations to fix it, and then when it's even more broken and collapses, they come in and go, we're the only ones that can fix it, even though they're the ones who broke it.
Right, exactly.
They're constantly here with, we're here to fix things. They never fix anything. They are the worst at fixing anything. I mean, the government's never been good at stuff like this, and the Democrats are even worse at it.
Yeah, that's true.
They believe that it's... Here's the thing. I noticed... I just saw this morning, and I didn't catch the guy's name. It was some congressman talking about reaching across the aisle again.
Right.
But he was talking about tax reform. He's like, I agree with tax reform. We should have tax reform, which Trump has been, trumpeting lately. Didn't do that on purpose. But he has been, calling for tax reform, and they're working on it, and I hope it happens. And this Democratic senator, and again, I didn't catch his name, was saying, yes, we need tax reform. But here's the major difference, and even though they both sort of agree. Trump says we need to get taxes need to be simpler, they need to be less complicated, and they need to be lowered to help the middle class.
Right.
This congressman said they need to be rewritten and reformed because not everybody is paying their fair share. It always comes back to let's get more.
Right.
They never think that whenever they do something, they're like, we need, even though they're pretending to agree on some level with Trump on tax reform, but their goal is not the same. He wants to make it easier for regular people like us to do their taxes. It really shouldn't take an entire industry to help us do our taxes. It should be something.
Or a whole day.
It should, I like the whole postcard idea. That would make it simple. If they just said, okay, we need 12% of what you earn, fine. Here's what I've earned, 12%.
That'd be so. That'd be awesome.
But
man.
see, the Democrats don't like that because they don't like simplicity. They like complication because in complication is control.
Right.
They're bureaucrats. Bureaucracy is their weapon. It's what they use to bludgeon us over the head and make us do what they want. I mean, they use regulations to change our cars. They use regulations to change the Freon in your air conditioning unit because it's bad for the environment. Well, I don't know if it is or not, but you know what? They made it more expensive. They make it more complicated. They put people out of business. And what happens is when you put a lot of little guys out of business, one or two big guys stay in business, and they become
a monopoly.
And they generally are almost always Democrats. Al Gore's a perfect example. They've been squeezing the coal and other industries, and he's made $1 billion, and their friends in the solar industries made tons of money, and now Trump's changed that with the removal of the war on coal.
Right.
So now regular people can go back to work. So my point is, Democrats always favor their friends. Screw us. Trump seems to be like, let's help the whole world, the whole country. He's never once said, I'm going to help just this portion of society. Right. He's like, I'm not. He's never said, I'm going to make sure that I don't know, I'm trying to pick some obscure thing that isn't already been, championed by the left. But let's say he says, I'm going to make sure all Episcopalians make more money. Right. He never says that. He says, I'm going to make America great, not that portion. I'm not going to punish that side because their grandfathers were here and there was slavery at the same time. The Democrats, they're violent identity politics. Their whole point is to just cripple our morale so that they can
divide.
Do what they want.
They like to divide. They like to put people in boxes and everything else. And so then that way they can control that individual groups. And not many people, they go along with it and say, oh yeah, they're for us, but they're not really for you. They put everybody in these little boxes. Well, you make this much, you have to stay here. You're this race, so you have to stay here. You have this position, so you have to stay with these guys here. They put everybody in a box to actually separate the rest of the Democrats so they can just,
well, that way they can speak to one group and say, I'm going to help you. I'm not going to help them. I'm going to help you.
Right.
Well, I'm going to help you. I'm not going to help them. I'm going to help you. And that way everybody thinks they're special.
Right.
Well, where Trump just says, yeah, you are. Everybody's special. Go to work. Do your thing. I'm going to do what I can to make sure. I'm going to take all the obstacles out of your way. They're like, we need to make sure that those people don't get ahead of you because, we need to take care of you.
Right.
No. It's going to be a tough. This is going to be a long 4 years. I'm telling you.
It seems like a year's gone by already.
It really does seem like it's been a really long time.
Like almost we've gone 2 years.
I'm surprised the Democrats have this kind of energy. Maybe they work in like tag teams and shifts or something.
They have to, man. All right, man. You got that section of the bill. Okay, good. I'm going to take a time out.
And speaking of the Congressman Federico Wilson, and I'm not even going to make fun of her hat. That does it all by itself. She responded to General Kelly's statement about her that she was an empty barrel. Now, an empty barrel makes the most noise, I believe, is the quote he used. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I get it. I mean, I guess he was basically saying you got no substance, so you scream the loudest. And Sandra Huckabee, basically, the spokesperson said, as they say, all hat, no cattle. Which I totally get that. But the thing is, it's funny. The people who talk about calling other people racist seem to be the only ones talking about race.
Well, they're the racist ones.
I mean, but we're all supposedly racist, Nazis, and white supremacists. I don't know of anybody who talks about race. It is so far from any conversation.
I mean, it was dead. It was dead or dying a couple years ago. Even during the Bush era, it was dead or dying then. But now all of a sudden they have to have a boogeyman, and so here we are.
Yeah, now everybody's a racist, and that's the default response. You don't agree with him? He's a racist. He's a white supremacist. Yeah, I don't know. It's just they really are just pushing the envelope in ridiculousness, and I hope they continue because the more they push, the less ground they gain, I think. Anyway, that's my rants. I only have a couple of things that have nothing to do with what we talked about, but save them for next week. They'll still, some of them are still be topical.
Well, awesome, man. I'm gonna wrap up the show.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Hope we kept you fairly entertained and gave you a little bit of enlightenment and just told you our thoughts on things. Like I've always said, if you disagree with something that we've said, look it up, send us a comment, tell us where we're wrong, and we'll address it. We are not afraid of being found to be wrong if we're wrong. But I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken. So join us next week. We'll be here. Lance was out. He had a previous engagement. So next week we should all be here. Until next week, have a great weekend, good rest of the week, and God bless America. And don't forget to look at the t-shirts. Pick one out, buy it. I've got several. They're really nice. They're very well done. They're very well designed. And they're at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
So, well, ladies and gentlemen, good night. Have a pleasant week. And thank you for joining us here on The Stand.